You know what? I was gonna do an outline, but I'm just gonna wing this. So one of my students, Nilofar, who I love, is getting into art and has been learning all sorts of things about life and love and relationships, and she asked me to do a painting video, and when I came across this footage on my camera, I decided I would just make her this video because I want to and I can, so I'm going to. So here we are. This painting in particular, I don't really know what order I'm going to go in, but this painting in particular is, it's a picture of me about, I would say, December of 2019, and that would be about 5 months after I had moved into my own place, and was kind of feeling settled in, and yeah, so that's where the painting, nope, that's not where the painting started actually. The painting started with Jess, with me. I found this little picture of myself, and I'm not a complete narcissist. I feel obligated to say that, but no, I found this little picture of me, and you know, my ex a few years ago asked me this question. He's like, what are your happiest memories? And at the time I really couldn't think of any, and you know, over the years these things pop into my head, and because of that question they kind of stick with me, and when I see certain things of really happy moments, I'm like, oh, see, that was one of them. And it's part of my intro to this video, this little Jess on roller skates. May or may not be my profile picture depending on what platform you're following me on. Yeah, so I started to paint this really happy moment where I was just free and roller skating, and like had that kid energy, that curiosity, that drive, that lightness, you know. And then you know, over the years I started to really layer in my paintings. So then I layered on the picture from December that I was describing earlier, and I don't know, you know, I did it in black and white, I did it in gray. There was something about the now versus the like colorful childhood or something. This is actually very hard because I don't usually like talk about my work or explain it, but anyway, yeah, so those two things were going on, and then there's my job, and that is the calendar. And that calendar represents a lot. It represents structure, and it represents growth, and it represents challenge, and it represents passion, and it represents, you know, everything about the way that I operate. I'm such a list maker, I'm such a tracker, I'm such a color coordinator and an organizer. I just like to document things. I see the calendar as a scrapbook. I'll have a really hard time ever getting rid of it, which is terrible. I've got so many albums. And as I work on these paintings, I like to save my reference photos together. And I keep these binders, so I'll have all of these drafts of the paintings that I've done for later to look at. But I don't know, I started painting in college actually because I had to. I got into VCU for photography, and then I switched into the art education department, and they made, in your first year, basically in your foundations, you had to take several different types of classes, and then for art education I had to take upper level classes, and I chose oil painting, and it just connected me to myself. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. I really found my voice, and And time and time and time and time again, I go back to paint to find my voice. And it's just always there. It's always reliable. And, you know, I have kids. I don't always show them my work because it's not how it starts, you know. Like, the first painting I ever made is terrible. I mean, oh my God, like really bad. And it's really embarrassing to me now, but we all start somewhere. And I think that's the lesson I'm always trying to teach my kids is like, we start somewhere and you just have to try. So like, even this whole YouTube thing, like I'm already embarrassed about stuff I did, but I'm keeping it. And I'm not going to change it. I'm going to keep it because I'm a documentarian and I like to know the way things were and when they were. And I don't know, I think it all comes from I know it all comes from my dad dying so early on, and he was a painter and he was a photographer and he was, you know, a lot like me, and I should say I am a lot like him. And I don't know, that's a strange concept to ponder out loud because it's hard to be so much like somebody and yet never have really gotten to know them. It's strange, and yet you know them with your whole soul all at the same time. My dad had a friend that took me around upstate New York near Ellenville, where he's from, and took me on this little tour apparently that my dad used to take me in his big brown van, and he would sit me up on the wall and point out into all the mountains and tell me this and tell me that, and he would point at the sky and say, "That's cerulean," you know. And his friend would say, "Gary, that's ridiculous. She's a baby. She's not going to remember." And I think she was wrong, because I think all the lessons we learn in life are in us, you know, and matter and make a difference. Yeah, that was kind of a tangent. So my first class was oil painting, and I learned how to paint strictly with oil, and I started slowly. We painted glass. I think that's a really important beginning lesson to learn about how light works, because really painting is all light. You know, you look for the darks, you look for the lights, you look for the gradients. And and over the last few years in particular, couple years I'd say, I stopped painting in oils sometime in California, and I started moving into acrylic. I like how fast it is. Oil is slow, but oil is great when you're learning because it's slow, because it makes you take your time. It makes you really consider what you're working with, and it gives you time to make changes when you realize something's wrong. One of the things I like to do is take pictures of my work as I'm doing it, because especially with people, you can totally see when your proportion is off. Even if you can't in real life. It's kind of a weird hack, but it helps. And so then I was in Oakland, and I was learning all this and teaching all these making classes and yearbook, and teaching kindergartners how to saw. It was so cool, and I was just ready for a new format. I think I was ready to work faster. So I started with acrylics, and then I was like, how about Mod Podge, and how about nail polish, and how about paper? I have a weird obsession with paper. So anyway, I just started combining all of these elements, and I mean, I would still say that they're paintings, but really they're collages. Really, they're just layers and layers and layers of things. I mean, sometimes I just like write notes and paint over top them. And I know they live in that painting, but my paintings for me are always a release. They're a way that I really work through things that are, they're just the way that I work through life, you know. When I'm lost and I sit in front of that canvas, I find myself every single time. And every single time I get to know myself better, honestly. So, if you're considering painting, I think it's a choice. If you're considering painting, just do it. Just do it. You don't have to have the perfect stuff. I do recommend oil at first, but it's very expensive, so I was lucky. I was in college, so it was required school supplies. So bless my mom's heart, because that all went on her credit card. But my point is, the way that I paint now, I mean, you can just use anything you want. You can use anything you want. And you can paint anything you want. And you should. And then you should share it. Because other people want to see your work. I'm always surprised when people say, I don't know, when people compliment my work. Because it's so personal to me. It's so personal. And I don't really make it for anybody. I don't have any aspiration to sell it. I guess I would for the right price, but I'm so attached to my work that I feel like it would have to be for a lot of money. But really, like, they're pieces of me. They're pieces of me at exact moments in time, dealing with exact, specific, really important things, and working through them. And it's interesting because usually at some point the painting starts to get really terrible, and I want to get rid of it, and then you get to the other side of it, and then you get to a point where you don't touch it for a few weeks and you realize it's done. So I'm at about 13 minutes, which I think is how much footage I have. So, Nilofar, this is for you. I hope you have an amazing summer. And I hope you're painting.